Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Scorpion Cigar Reviews. Today I will be reviewing the Montecristo Vintage 1999. This is a 5.5 by, forgive me, it's 40, maybe 42 or so ring, maybe a little bit larger. It's smaller than what I would normally smoke, but nonetheless, see if I can get the banding off without damaging the cigar. And the name band came off just fine. It's about the vintage 1999 band. Okay, both bands came off without any trouble, without any issue. In fact, it looks like maybe a little bit of glue was left behind, but at least it didn't damage the wrapper at all. Actually, for its small size, it's a fairly hefty stick. Pretty firm. Slight amount of sponginess, just the right amount. It's not brittle at all. Has a perhaps, I want to say it's a triple cap. However, it looks as though one of the caps is overlapping one of the other caps, so it's hard to tell for sure. It's definitely a double cap, but I believe I see a third peeking out around one side. Nothing outstanding on the nose of the outer wrapper, just some basic tobacco smells. A little bit of spice on the foot along with some tea and some basic tobacco smells. Maybe a slight hint of cocoa, a little bit of chocolate in there. It's a kind of a milk chocolate brown wrapper. Fairly silky. Has some minor veins, not a lot. The seams are visible but tight. So let's we'll get this cut. Use my double guillotine cutter today. I'm enjoying a day out on the beach. The winter blahs have started to set in already, and it's only the final week of November. Pre-draw. A little bit of white pepper, perhaps. A little bit of tea. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot going on either on the pre-draw or with the sense of the wrapper or the foot. Very, very subtle. So let's get this lit up. I'll be using my Bernzomatic torch. Very mild right off the bat. Some spice in there. bit of something else. Spice is picking up, but it's still a mild smoke. Well, there you have it. I'll get into the first third, and we'll see how this cigar progresses. So here I am into the first third, the Montecristo Vintage 1999. I'm about 6 or 7 minutes into it. Still a very mild cigar. There's not a whole lot going on. There's a little bit of that spice, perhaps the white pepper, still going on. But the flavor profile isn't very big. Not very complex. There's just not a whole lot going on with the cigar at the moment, anyway. It's on the verge of trying to bring something else in, but it's very short on the finish. So what that is. The smoke is fairly dry, not overly dry, but it is leaving me a little thirsty. So, in addition to drinking my cognac that I like to drink with my cigars, I also have a glass of ice water just to help quench my thirst. Plus, it's always nice to have some ice water when you're sitting out at the beach. Can't very well drink the water out there, all the salt. Just throw it right back up. I think later I'll swim out to that island. Gotta watch out for sharks and that kind of thing. Jellyfish, stingrays, all kinds of things going on out there. Pretty quiet out here today, actually. I pretty much have the beach to myself. There's not anybody out here swimming or frolicking in the water. Come to think of it, I haven't even heard any birds out here today. No seagulls or anything like that. They'll probably come back at low tide and collect the various shellfish that have washed up on the beach. So, meanwhile, while I'm enjoying my day at the beach, I'll continue on, get into the second third of this Montecristo, and we'll see how it progresses from there. I've been smoking this Montecristo for about 15 minutes, maybe a little bit more. Ash is holding on fairly well, it looks like. Nice white ash. Burning a little bit unevenly, but not too bad. Nothing that I feel needs correcting. The burn line is fairly crisp. So I'll continue on in the first third, get into the second third, and we'll see if we pick up any new flavors along the lines. So far everything's just been very subtle and very short on the finish. Thought I tasted a little bit of mineral in there for a moment, but it didn't really last very long. There is a slight amount of creaminess starting to form inside the mouth, but the smoke is still fairly dry in the back of the palate, as well as there's a little bit of that mineral lingering towards the back, perhaps a pencil lead, but it's still very subtle. So we'll continue on, and we'll see how this progresses. Beautiful day at the beach, just kicking back, relaxing. This is actually a very good midday cigar, being that it's mild. I generally smoke a little more fuller-bodied cigar later towards the evening, but figured why not out here on the beach. Beautiful day. Cigar is actually going quite well with my surroundings. The tide's starting to come in. I've had to move my chair up a little bit. Pretty perfect draw on this Montecristo. Ever so slight amount of resistance, just right where I like it. So far, no issues with it trying to go out or anything. Still a fairly firm still. Starting to get a little bit of mushiness to it. Not too bad. Starting to heat up a little bit. Late in the, I guess about midway point, I guess, in the second, third. No issues with the wrapper at all. It's not trying to come undone or anything, so that's good. I'm developing a slight crack in the ash. I'm at about 1.25 inches or so worth of ash. Might go ahead and ash it again just so it doesn't fall off in my lap. Hi folks. Just entering the final third. I attempted to ash, gave it a few little flicks, and it held on tight. So just keep going for a while and try ashing it again. That crack in the ash is still there. Hasn't progressed any. I thought it would have broken off at that crack, but it didn't. Still have an uneven burn, but it's been pretty consistent. Still fairly mild, entering the final third. A little bit of spiciness there. Spiciness lingers a little bit, but all the other flavors are very, very short. Spiciness is lingering in the back of the palate. Still not a whole lot going on. There's not a whole lot of complexity to this. Everything's very subtle. The flavor profile is very even-keeled. Not bland, but just real short on the finishes, very mild, very subtle. I mean, clean burning, not getting any staining. I'm going to try to ash once again. There it goes. I was afraid it was going to fall off of my lap. No real issues with the burn at all. It's a well-constructed cigar. Seems to have been cured properly and handled properly and constructed properly. I see just now I'm starting to develop a slight bit of, not a crack in the wrapper necessarily, but where it's starting to come loose just a little bit, ever so slightly, right here. I don't see where it would necessarily be a problem. I think it'll burn right on through it. It's not progressing really. It's just a little loose right at the edge. I think it'll be alright. So I'll continue on, and I'll take this down to the nub, and we'll see what happens from there. Oh, excuse me, dozed off for a moment there. That'll tend to happen when you're sitting out on the beach, sun beating down on you, nice and warm. Sound of the waves in the background lapping on the beach. Very relaxing. Very pleasant cigar. I'd like to mention that it's never a good idea to doze off while you're smoking. I did, because I'm an idiot. It can be very dangerous. I'm about 45 minutes into this. Not a whole lot left on it. Well into the final third. Developing a rather uneven burn. You can see right there. Top portion of it, the wrapper isn't burning at all. See if that'll correct itself. I'll give it another few minutes, and if it doesn't correct itself, I'll touch it up. Still a pretty mild cigar. Getting some spices, exhaling through the nose. Still a little bit of creaminess in the mouth, dry on the back of the palate. A little bit of dryness on the mid palate. Not real bad. So I went ahead and corrected the burn. Tried to even it out a little bit while I corrected it. See what happens here. I'm approaching the nub. A little bit of mineral in there, perhaps along the lines of maybe some pencil lead or something. The smoke is heating up, as is the cigar itself, but being this far into it, I would expect to be a little bit of warmth there. So I'll go and I'll wrap up this review. So in all, the Montecristo 1999, number 3, has been a pretty mild cigar throughout, very even keeled, very narrow flavor band. For the most part, just a very subtle flavors of white pepper throughout. Picked up a little bit of parchment, very short on the finish, about halfway through. Didn't last very long. And towards the end, picked up a little bit of pencil lead. Slight amount of creaminess to the mouth with dryness on the back of the palate, a little bit of dryness mid-palate. A little bit of an uneven burn throughout. Had to correct it once, late in the final third. Ash held on pretty well. Each time I ashed it, I had about 1.25 inches or so worth of ash. And I once again have about 1 inch worth of ash on there now, close to that. This would be a cigar that I would say would be a good midday smoke, around lunchtime or so. So I thank you once again for watching Scorpion Cigar Reviews of the Montecristo Vintage 1999, number 3. Thank you.